The courtroom was packed. Cameras, journalists, lawyers, spectators, everyone wanted to see Emily Carter, the woman who had challenged the system, exposed the federal circle, and cornered powerful figures. But at that moment, she wasn't a symbol, she was a witness. Seated before the judge, dossier in hand, Emily took a deep breath. Every word she spoke could change the course of the investigation and her life. "Miss Carter," the prosecutor said, "can you confirm that the documents you submitted were obtained directly from Nicholas Vance?" "I can, and I can confirm he acquired them while working as an internal security analyst for the Titans football team." The judge took notes silently. The tension was palpable. Outside, Jack Carter watched everything via live stream. Removed from his coaching position, but still respected by many, he knew this trial wasn't just about corruption. It was about honor, about legacy. Rachel, seated beside him, kept her eyes locked on the screen. "She's doing well," she said, "but they'll try to shake her." Jack nodded. "They always do. But she's stronger than they think." Inside the courtroom, the defense attorney stood. He represented one of the businessmen named in the dossier, a powerful man with deep connections. "Miss Carter, are you aware that you're accusing individuals with decades of public service? That you may be destroying reputations based on subjective interpretations?" Emily looked him straight in the eye. "I'm aware that I'm presenting evidence, and reputations built on lies don't deserve protection." A murmur swept through the room. The judge called for silence. The prosecutor resumed. "Miss Carter, in addition to the documents, do you possess recordings that confirm meetings between the accused?" "Yes, all authenticated by independent experts." The judge requested the audio be played. Harrison's voice echoed through the courtroom. "If we control the team, we control the narrative. Sports distract, politics moves." The silence that followed was deafening. Outside, social media exploded. The hashtag Trial of Truth was trending. Supporters of Emily multiplied, but not everyone was pleased. In a luxurious office, Harrison watched the broadcast with a tense expression. Beside him, an aide spoke quietly. "We need to act. If she keeps going, she'll expose everything." "We're already acting," Harrison replied, "but now we need to be surgical." Meanwhile, Emily left the courthouse after the first day of testimony, surrounded by cameras. She said nothing. She simply walked to the car where Rachel was waiting. "You were brilliant." "I was honest, and that's what unsettles them. They'll try to destabilize you tomorrow. They're already preparing a new line of attack." Emily looked out the window. "Let them come. I have more than evidence. I have courage." The next morning, Emily woke up to a new notification. A journalist had published an article claiming she had manipulated evidence. The source: an anonymous document that contradicted parts of the original dossier. Rachel walked into the room, phone in hand. "They've started. They're trying to discredit you." "I expected this, but they won't succeed." Emily called the editor of the newspaper. "You published an accusation without verifying its authenticity?" "The source came from a trusted channel, but we're reviewing it now." "The source came from Harrison's office, didn't it?" Silence. "You have until the end of the day to issue a retraction, or I'll take legal action." She hung up. She knew the war was now also one of narratives. Meanwhile, Jack received an unexpected visit. One of the younger players, eyes red from crying, walked into his house unannounced. "Coach, I can't take it anymore. They're following me, sending messages, saying if I talk, my family will suffer." Jack embraced him. "You're not alone. We'll protect you." Emily arrived minutes later. She listened to the story and made a decision. "Let's record it. but this time with your face, your name, if you have the courage. I'll guarantee legal protection." The player hesitated, then nodded. Hours later, the video was published. A young athlete, speaking firmly, exposing threats, blackmail, and manipulation. The reaction was immediate. Pressure on Harrison intensified. In court, the second day of testimony began with tension. The defense attorney presented the anonymous document as evidence of inconsistency, but the prosecutor countered with technical analysis. The document lacks valid metadata. It was created after the original complaint, and it contradicts official records. Emily was called back to the stand. "Miss Carter, can you confirm that the dossier was authenticated by 3 independent sources?" "I can, and I can present the reports." The judge requested the documents. After reviewing them, he declared, "The authenticity of the dossier is upheld. The charges remain valid." Outside, Harrison convened another meeting with his allies. The mood was desperate. "She's gaining support. Even members of Congress are calling for a formal investigation. Then we need to flip the game. If we can't silence her, we'll expose her weaknesses." "She has no weaknesses," one of them said, "only courage." Harrison stared out the window. "Everyone has something to lose. We just need to find hers." Meanwhile, Emily received a call from the prosecutor's office. "We have a new witness, a former employee of the security firm linked to the Federal Circle. He wants to talk, but only to you." Emily went to the designated location, an underground parking garage, discreet and quiet. There, a middle-aged man with tired eyes waited. "I saw everything, the contracts, the orders, the payments, but I stayed silent until now." "Why now?" "Because you gave me courage, and because they've crossed every line." He handed her an external hard drive. It contained internal records, emails, recordings. This proves Harrison knew that he authorized everything. Emily thanked him and returned home with the material. Rachel analyzed the files. "This is explosive. If we publish this, he's done. We will publish. But first, we give it to the prosecutor." The next day, the hard drive was submitted. A new hearing was scheduled. Emily knew the walls were closing in, but she also knew the risk was growing. That night, she received an anonymous call. "You're going too far. There's still time to stop." "I won't stop, and you've already lost." Silence, then the voice replied, "Then prepare yourself. The next blow will be personal." Emily hung up, looked at Rachel. "They're going to go after my family. We're already reinforcing security, but we need to move faster." Emily called Jack. "Dad, stay alert. They might try something. I'm ready, and I'm not alone." The next morning, a new headline. "Senator Harrison officially under investigation for leading a parallel influence network." Emily smiled, but she knew the fight was far from over. Day 3 of the hearing began under heavy tension. The media was already calling it the trial of the year. And Emily, now recognized on the streets, had become a symbol of resistance and a target for attacks. As she entered the courtroom, she was met with discreet applause and hostile stares, but she held her posture. She wasn't there to please. She was there to reveal. The prosecutor opened the day with a new piece of evidence, the hard drive handed over by the former employee of the security firm. The files showed bank transfers, direct orders, and secret meetings. "Miss Carter," the prosecutor asked, "do you recognize the names listed in these records?" "I do. They're the same names found in the original dossier and in the recordings submitted by Nicholas Vance." The judge called for silence. The defense attorney stood. "Your Honor, we request that this new evidence be reviewed with caution. There's a risk of manipulation, the prosecutor responded. It has already been examined and validated by 3 independent experts. The judge nodded. The evidence was accepted. Outside, Rachel followed everything on her phone. Beside her, Jack kept his eyes fixed on the screen. "They're cornered," Rachel said. "And when they're cornered, they strike." Jack took a deep breath. "I just hope they don't strike at Emily directly." But the attack was already underway. That afternoon, a video began circulating online. It supposedly showed Emily in a meeting with one of the accused businessmen. The caption read, "She was part of it too." Rachel received the link and rushed to the courthouse. "Emily, you need to see this." On the phone, the video looked real, but Emily recognized it instantly. It was a fake, a clip from an old interview, edited with fabricated segments. "This is false and criminal. We've already contacted the forensic team. We'll prove it's a deep fake." The prosecutor was informed. He asked the judge to disregard the video until technical analysis was complete. The judge agreed, but the damage was done. Doubt had been planted. Emily left the courthouse under flashing cameras and aggressive questions. She didn't respond. She got into the car and broke down. "They're desperate," Rachel said, "and that means we're winning. But it's dangerous. If they can't silence me, they'll try to destroy me." That night, Emily received an unexpected visitor, a middle-aged woman, a former staffer from Harrison's office. "I saw everything, and I stayed quiet out of fear. But now, I want to speak." "Why now?" "Because you gave me courage, and because they've crossed every line." Emily recorded her testimony. The woman confirmed secret meetings, contract manipulation, and internal threats. The next day, the video was published, and it went viral. The media began to shift tone, from skepticism to investigation, from attack to protection. In court, Day 4 began with a new testimony. The player who had previously spoken out returned, this time accompanied by 2 teammates. "They told us if we spoke, we'd never play professionally again. They showed us photos of our families, said they knew where we lived. But now we want justice." The judge listened silently, then ordered official protection for the athletes. Emily looked at Jack, seated in the gallery. He smiled faintly. He knew that despite everything, they were doing the right thing. But Harrison hadn't given up. In a dark room, he spoke with an unknown man. "She's winning, and if she keeps going, she'll bury us. Then we need something definitive, something that takes her out of the game. I have a plan, but it's risky. All plans are when truth is involved." Meanwhile, Emily received a new message, an address, an invitation. "If you want to know who's really behind this, come alone." Rachel tried to stop her. It could be a trap. It could, but it could also be the final key. Emily went, alone, to an abandoned building in Harlem. There, she met a hooded man with a firm voice. "I worked for them, but I was discarded, and now I want everything exposed." He handed her an envelope. Inside were names that hadn't surfaced before. High-level figures, untouchables. If this gets out, it won't just be a scandal. It'll be a chain reaction. Emily returned home in silence. She knew the end was near, but she also knew the price would be high. Day 5 of the hearing began with anticipation. The media was already calling it a domino effect. After the latest testimonies and revelations, more names were surfacing. Politicians, businessmen, advisors. The federal circle was unraveling. Piece by piece, Emily arrived at the courthouse with the envelope she had received in the abandoned building. Inside, were names that had never been mentioned before. People from the highest levels, untouchables, but now exposed. The prosecutor requested a recess to review the contents. After an hour of verification, he returned to the courtroom with a grave expression. Your Honor, the material submitted by Miss Carter contains records that expand the scope of this investigation. We recommend opening a parallel inquiry. The judge agreed. A murmur spread through the room. Harrison, present for the first time, kept his eyes locked on Emily. She didn't look away. During the break, Jack approached his daughter. You're going too far. Are you sure about this? I am, because if I stop now, everything I've done will have been for nothing. Jack took her hand. Then go all the way. Just know I'm with you. Rachel arrived with an update. One of the names in the envelope just resigned. Another was seen leaving the country. Emily took a deep breath. They're running. That means we're close. When the hearing resumed, the prosecutor introduced a new witness, former legislative aide, who confirmed that Harrison had used his influence to shield contracts and suppress complaints. I was paid to erase trails and to make sure certain people were never investigated. The judge listened in silence, then ordered federal protection for the witness. Emily was called back to the stand. Miss Carter, are you aware of the political impact this case is having? I am, but I'm also aware that the truth is not negotiable. The defense attorney tried to interrupt. This witness lacks credibility. He was dismissed for misconduct. The judge intervened. Credibility will be assessed based on the evidence, and so far it's consistent. Outside, the city was boiling. Protests were erupting. Groups demanded a full investigation. Others called for Harrison's arrest, and many simply chanted Emily's name. That night, she was invited to appear on a major television program. She declined. I'm not here for spectacle, I'm here for justice. But she did record a short video, posted to her social media. I'm not doing this for fame, I'm doing this for truth, and for everyone who's been silenced. The video went viral, and the next day, new documents arrived at the prosecutor's office, anonymous, but stamped with official seals. Rachel reviewed them. These are internal records from Harrison's office, emails, schedules, direct orders. This proves he was in charge of everything. The prosecutor called for an emergency hearing. This time, Harrison was subpoenaed to testify. In court, the senator entered surrounded by security, but the arrogance was gone. He sat down and listened. The prosecutor presented the documents, the recordings, the testimonies. Senator Harrison, do you deny involvement with the federal circle? I do. I never participated in illegal meetings. I never authorized any wrongdoing. Emily requested to speak. Then how do you explain the records bearing your signature? The recordings of your voice? The email sent from your office? Harrison hesitated. I was manipulated. My name was used. The judge called for order, then announced that based on the evidence, the case would proceed to formal criminal trial. Emily left the courthouse with Rachel and Jack by her side. The crowd applauded, but she didn't smile. It's not over yet? Rachel looked at her. But it's close. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. You made history. Emily looked toward the skyline. Now we have to make sure it's not erased. The sixth and final day of the hearing began in silence. The city seemed to hold its breath. The media was calling the case a turning point, and Emily, now under official protection, walked toward the courthouse with steady steps. Inside the courtroom, the judge announced, "Today, we will hear the final testimony and determine whether this case proceeds to criminal trial." Emily was called to the stand. She looked out at the audience. She saw Jack, Rachel, the players, the journalists. She took a deep breath. "Miss Carter," the judge said, "would you like to make a final statement?" "Yes, Your Honor." She stepped up to the microphone. "For weeks I've been threatened, attacked, discredited, but I kept going because I knew I wasn't fighting just for myself. I was fighting for my father, for Nicholas, for the players, for the silenced journalists, and for everyone who still believes that truth matters." The room fell silent. The judge thanked her and asked everyone to step out for deliberation. Outside, Emily waited with Rachel. "You were flawless," Rachel said. "I was honest. That's all I can be." Jack approached. "No matter the outcome, you've already won." Hours later, the judge returned to the courtroom. Everyone stood. After reviewing the evidence, testimonies and documentation, this court finds sufficient grounds to proceed with formal criminal charges against the individuals named in the dossier. The case will move to trial. The room erupted in murmurs. Harrison, present, lowered his head. Emily remained silent, but her eyes said everything. Outside, the crowd applauded. Cameras captured every step, but she wasn't seeking the spotlight. She was seeking justice. That night, Emily returned home. She sat on the couch, looked out at the city through the window, and received a message. It was from Nicholas. "You did the impossible. Now protect what you've built." She smiled. Chand replied, "It's not over, but now we're not alone." Days later, Congress announced the formation of a special committee to investigate the federal circle. Harrison resigned. Other names began to fall. Emily was invited to speak at universities, forums, and news programs. She declined most. She preferred to stay behind the scenes, investigating, protecting, building. Jack was reinstated at the club. The players returned to training freely. Rachel was offered a position leading an investigative journalism unit, but not everything was calm. A new threat emerged. A shadowy group tied to international interests began to stir, and Emily knew the next chapter would be even more dangerous. In the final scene, she walks down a busy New York street. She receives an envelope. Inside, a photo. Nicholas, in an unknown location, with a handwritten message. "He knows too much." Emily closes the envelope, looks directly at the camera, and says, "Then let's find out who's really at the top."